So for the past couple of years, ever since Apple released the iPhone and the iPod and the MacBook and the iPad, there is this talk about this great big Apple ecosystem. And this has a lot of people they have mixed feelings about it, and it's understandable. So I wanted to offer you my position on the whole Apple ecosystem. So first of all, let me just talk about the people who don't like the Apple ecosystem. I'm basically agreeing with people who say that the Apple ecosystem is terrible. Okay, it's terrible in the sense that it locks you into a certain brand. And there is a part of me that sort of wonders if there shouldn't be laws against this, the way Apple does things, the way they sort of force you to do things. Like, it's always this idea that, oh, it's your choice. You can use our Apple products and you can use them together, or you can choose not to. And, I think that from a legal standpoint, there's sort of given the technicality of, yes, technically you could use other products, but anybody who uses Apple products, they know, as well as I do, that Apple products work the best with each other and not other brands. That's the truth of it. But it's not impossible. So for example, I could hook up my AirPods to my iPhone and it just works flawlessly and brilliantly. Now I could also connect something like the Sony 1000 XM5s and they work. There are no distortions, there are no issues, there are no problems. But the simplicity of connecting Apple products to Apple products, that's the beauty of the Apple ecosystem. Now, on the reverse side of this discussion, we have basically Apple fanboys, which I'm also considering myself to be an Apple fanboy, but I'm actually hoping that at some point I'm gonna be able to jump ship. But the reason I don't is because, say what you want about the Apple ecosystem and all of their products, they're expensive and they lock you into the system. But when it works, man, I mean, dude, it just works. It just works so brilliantly. And whenever you get an Apple product and you connect it to another Apple product, it just works so flawlessly. And there are no distortions, there are no difficulties. It just works. It's sort of like the Apple slogan, it just works. And this is where it has me conflicted, because on the one hand, I like it. And I like using Apple products together. I love it that my AirPods connect so well with my iPhone and, my MacBook with my Mac Mini. I love Airdrop. Airdrop is one thing that I couldn't live without. It sort of feels like I couldn't live without it. And that's actually something very interesting. So I'm gonna make a separate video about the whole USB-C discussion. But as you know, the iPhone 14 Pro, let's discuss that word for a second. It doesn't have USB-C, it has Lightning port. Now, I would have been okay with Lightning port as long as it would have been fast enough. But at this point, even when you're trying to transfer 50 megapixel raw photos from your iPhone to your Mac computer, AirDrop is just the best way to do it. And I think that's on purpose. I really believe this is completely on purpose, because once people start to get used to the idea of connecting a cable to transfer video files and raw images and stuff like that, it's just not as easy as distortion free. But with Apple AirDrop, it just, you just move stuff to your Mac computer and it just works so brilliantly. And this is something that, again, I think that this is something that's intentional by Apple. Of course, there's no way of proving it, but that's what I think. It's a strategic move as far as I'm concerned. Now, I would like to leave the Apple ecosystem. I've said so for a couple of years. The reason I don't is because the Apple system still works so fantastically well. Now, this is difficult because Apple products are extremely expensive. Just think about the idea of upgrading storage on a MacBook. You can't do it. Like, you have to get it from the start and it will cost you a lot of money. Or if you want to upgrade the processor or something like that, you can't do it. There's nothing that you can upgrade on a MacBook. You can't, put in more storage on an iPhone. And sure, some smartphone devices on the Android side, they don't have this option either. But from my standpoint, it just feels like tremendous waste. You know, you're just upgrading something because it doesn't have enough storage, or you can't replace the battery and stuff like that. The battery discussion, I'm gonna say that for a different video because that's a whole different topic. But when it comes to the Apple ecosystem, I still use it. I still think it works tremendously well. The thing that I would miss the most is definitely AirDrop. AirDrop is fantastic. If you haven't used AirDrop, you basically can't knock it because it's that good. Now, another part of this discussion is about the fact that if I was to switch to Android, there is a lot of headaches that I have to deal with. For example, transferring files from an Android device to a computer, a PC. It's not as simple as one might think. Yes, you could technically connect a cable from an Android device to your PC, but then you have to go into the settings menu and you have to unlock the possibility to be able to transfer video files and photo files to your PC. And also for me as a content creator, I take lots of photos and videos, and unfortunately sometimes when I play around with these Android devices, the files get corrupted somehow. I don't know how or why, but sometimes they do. And when it comes to Apple, I've never had one video file that has malfunctioned in some sense of way, you know. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not that simple to just say, oh, you should just leave the Apple ecosystem, you should just go for Android and PC and be done with it. There are so many other aspects. There is the whole video editing aspect as well. If you're like me, if you're a content creator, you make YouTube videos, yes, there is something called DaVinci Resolve, which is a great software, but Final Cut Pro 10 is the best video editing software as far as I'm concerned, and I just basically can't switch from Final Cut Pro to anything else. I've tried, I really have, but it's very difficult. And when it comes to PC world, the thing that I would hate the most is basically Windows. I hate Windows. I love the fact that you can upgrade your computer and stuff like that, although sometimes when you build your computer, some things just, you know, you have to play around with firmware updates and, you know, drivers and stuff like that. Things that you don't have to even think about when you're using a MacBook, basically. It just works every single time. And so that would be very difficult for me to make the switch to PC for that Windows reason, you know. Now, some people would perhaps suggest that I build a Hackintosh, and I have tried so, and this is not the ideal situation. It is so tricky to make a Hackintosh work that I would not recommend it to anybody. I don't care how skilled you are. It's annoyingly difficult. Nothing really works. You know, you have problem with Wi-Fi, you have problem with AirDrop. It's just not worth your time. So I would not waste any time on doing something like that. So finally for me, you know, the smartphone side of things, this is where I think I would enjoy it the most, because I love Android smartphones. I love them because they're always very innovative. They have these new features. This is the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro. It has 108 megapixels. And when I do comparisons, yes, the images are actually sharper. Or something like the OnePlus 9 Pro, where it records in 8K and it has this monochrome camera, which I know some people think that the monochrome camera is just a gimmick, and maybe it is. Maybe it is, just like the 8K recording, but it's fun, and I love it when companies experiment with these sort of things. Like another completely pointless, maybe not completely pointless feature of the OnePlus 9 Pro is that it has reverse charging. So basically, you can put a power bank and charge up the power bank with the smartphone. That's brilliant. Maybe pointless, but you can actually do it. And I like it when companies experiment with things like that. Anyway, these are just some of my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think about the whole Apple ecosystem. Is my plan to switch from the Apple ecosystem? Unfortunately, not anytime soon, but it is my hope for the future that someday, somewhere down the line, I will be feeling comfortable in doing so. You know what I mean? I wish that Google would make a powerful Chromebook. That would be something. Get that and Pixel, and yeah, and introduce some kind of an AirDrop feature. That would be so spectacular. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed this little video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care.